Hi everyone, for tonight's Nightcap in review, I'm having water, and tonight I'll be discussing the Book of Azrael by Amber V Nicole. I did have a physical copy, but I downloaded the KU version to read it off of my Kindle. Of course, I'm giving my honest opinion. And unfortunately, I did have to DNF this at 66%. If DNF videos are not your cup of tea, that's okay. Feel free to keep scrolling. Reading is subjective, and not every book is for every reader, and this just may not have been for me. But if you've read this and love this, I love that for you. Or if it sounds like something you want to read, I hope you love it. This was just not the book for me. These are the highlights and the content warnings. So what's this book about? Now, while I did get pretty far in the book, I am going to read the synopsis straight from the Zon just so it's accurate. World Ender meets Ender of World. 1,000 years ago, Diana gave up her life in the deserts of Aura, I think that's how you pronounce it, to save her dying sister. She called upon anyone who would listen, not expecting a monster far worse than any nightmare to answer. Now she does what Caden asks, even if it means securing an ancient relic from the very creatures that hunt her. A king thought long dead and long forgotten. In the old world, his name was Samkel. Again, probably not correct. In the new world, it is Liam. But one title remains true throughout time. He is the World Ender, a myth to his enemies, a savior and king to those loyal to him. After the gods' war, he locked himself away, hiding from the world. He denied his crown and responsibilities, leaving the very ones who needed him most to deal with the fallout of the death of their home world. Now an attack on those he holds dear sends him back to the one realm he never wished to visit again, and into the sights of an enemy he thought imprisoned eons ago. Now, enemies older than time must put aside their differences and work together in hopes of saving both their world and every realm in between. So what are my thoughts? Again, I did DNF this book at 66%. Now, honestly, I almost DNF this book at 10%, but I really wanted to give this author until 30%, which is usually my cutoff before I make the decision as to whether or not I want to continue the book. But I knew early on that this author's writing style was probably not going to be for me. And that mainly centers around the world building, because I prefer info dumps so that I can have an understanding of the world and then focus on the characters and the plot and move on. But the way she writes her world building is to give you little pieces as the story progresses. And for me, that becomes more about a fact-finding mission than enjoying the story and the characters. But I will say about 18%, which is what it was on my Kindle, I definitely got more information to develop a broad framework. But for me, it still felt a little bit incomplete, the world building. But at this same point is when the story really started to pick up, at least with Diana, our female main character, and I really started to enjoy her. She was strong, confident, sassy, and full of fire, quite literally, but she still had real heart because of the sacrifices she was willing to make for her sister. So she was definitely a female main character I could get behind. But as the story progressed, the story just seemed to drag on, and she, as the female main character, seemed to be lesser than the female character I had fallen in love with. So I was just not enjoying the characters and the story, and I decided to DNF it. Now, something else that is a personal preference is that I don't enjoy when elements from our world are taken and put into fantasy books that don't have the same points of references. This is not our world with fantasy elements. So when someone says like, hey, Sleeping Beauty, there's no Disney, as well as when they say Italian Suits, there's no Italy. So for me, it just irks me a little bit, as well as there were certain places in her writing that just felt a little incomplete. What I mean by that is the first example I saw is that with Caden, when they're describing his allies, you have the Dream Eaters, which they mention the clan they're from, but they don't mention their race, and they go on to describe the type of creature. But then you have the Mind Yield Screamers, which are banshees, and then you get a description, but they have their race mentioned, which is the banshees. Then you also have vampires, as well as the powerful, which are described as non-corporeal assassins, but we don't know their race, as well as the ferocious beasts of legend, which are werewolves. So there we have a race. And just for me, it's like, of the 5 races that were mentioned, only 3 got their actual races mentioned and 2 had nothing. And we can't come up with something. We're building a fantasy world, or we don't have any other mythologies we can pull from in this big world that we have like you do with the other races. It just felt a little incomplete for me. Overall, this was just not the book for me. But if it sounds like something you're interested in, I strongly encourage you to give it a try for yourself. Or if you've enjoyed it, I love that for you. This book is currently available, and I, again, hope you give it a try if it sounds like something you're interested in. And I hope everyone has a good night and happy readings.